It's your boy Quay, and we're back here in the cut. I have a good one for you guys today. Client requested a mid-drop fade. Man, let's get right into it. I'm going to start by knocking all the hair down evenly with a 2-guard going with the grain. Client has a wavy hair pattern. And when cutting a wavy hair pattern, you want to go with the grain into the same direction that the waves are flowing. Making sure you're going to go all the way around the head a few times to make sure all that's nice and even. This is also a good time to start using your offhand. On certain sides of the head, using your dominant hand, it can be a little bit awkward with the angles, so offhand helps a bit. And now I'm going to get that same 2-guard that I used before to debulk. I had this guard open, and I'm just going to scoop it, giving myself a rough guideline on where the fade is going to begin and where most of the blending is going to be for the fade. Making sure it's even all the way around the head, combing the hair back in place so I can make sure I get everything how I want it. Once that's done, I want to get my trimmers and set in my first initial bald guideline. You want to make sure that first guideline is put in nice and smooth, because this first initial guideline is going to set up the basis for what the bottom of the blend is going to look like. So take your time going over the lines a few times, make sure everything's nice, neat, even, and symmetrical. Making sure that you're going all the way around the head and both sides match. And once you're done putting in that line, go ahead and flip the trimmers over and get rid of all the hair that's left underneath there. Getting it ready to come behind with those full shavers and clean all that up. Now once you're done with that, you're going to head and pick up your full shavers. The shavers are going to bald out the bottom of the head and really make the bottom of that fade stand out a lot more. And when you're using the shaver, don't go all the way up to the line. You want to scoop out towards the end to avoid putting a hard line in that you're going to have difficulty taking out later. Now our next guideline is going to be with our no guard open. I like to start off slow here to get a really nice basis before I go into putting the rest. Making sure that it's all even by going over it a few times. And you want to make sure that you keep that same shape that you put the initial guideline in with. And to take out that line, we're going to use the same thing that we put it in with. We're going to start with the no guard lever all the way open and gradually close it one by one. And as you're closing the lever, you're going to work your way down from the top of that line to the very bottom until it is all the way blended out. And personally, what makes it a bit easier for me is working in sections. And what it does for me, it makes me feel as if I have a bit more control over the fade. That way I won't get too lost on where I'm at, and I know exactly what I need to do and where I need to do it. And as you can see, the bottom of that fade is already starting to come together, looking nice and smooth. Our next guideline is going to be the one open. Always remembering that when we are putting in these lines, we want to scoop out. Scooping out allows you to not create any harsh lines that's going to be difficult for you to blend out later. Again, combing your hair back in place and going all the way around to that halfway mark that we set for ourselves earlier. And after I'm done with the one, I take my 1.5 and I open it all the way up. I do this to soften up the area that I'm going to blend into the top of the head. This helps me start to bring the fade together before I take out that bottom line that you still see there. Now we get our 2-guard and we open it up and start to scoop out. This does the same thing as the 1.5, but on a bigger scale, so we don't take off too much hair. Getting the hair on the top of the head to smoothly transition into the fade at the bottom. And now we're going to take out the line that we see here with the half guard open. When this half guard is open, we're going to start at the top and slowly closing a lever one by one and working our way down to the bottom of the line. Using the flick out motion and using the corner of the blade as much as you can. Using the corner of the blade allows you to have a bit more control over the clipper and get into those spots that you see without having to worry about taking off too much hair at a time. And again, working in sections so you can make it a bit easier for yourself. Knowing exactly where you are in this fade, not confusing yourself or getting lost. Once I'm done with that, I pick back up my 1-guard and I open it all the way. I love the JRL clipper because it has a half power setting. I mostly use that setting at this point in the fade when I'm trying to debulk or when I'm trying to do last minute detailing. What it does is allow me to still go through my same steps without taking off too much hair. And again, I do the same thing with the 1.5, having the clipper on that same half setting. not taking up too much hair, and really starting to get that really blurred and blended effect. And using the corner of that blade with the one open to get some last minute detailing, some spots that I see that may be a little off. Once I'm done with that, I see that the area around the C-cup is a bit darker. So I get my thinning shears and comb, and I slowly start to work on that and just go over that a few times until I see that start to flow with the rest of the fade. And once I'm at a point that I'm satisfied with, I get the corner of that blade with the 1.5 all the way open, and I use the corners and just flick at that to get that part of the fade to really come in with the rest of the fade. Once I'm done with a side of a fade, I like to put in my C-cup. What this does, it helps me see where in the fade I need to touch up, and it just kind of brings everything all together. And this is me going over the head with the 2-guard closed, just making sure everything's nice and even, and no loose hairs are sticking up, and just make sure everything flows and comes together with the fade. The guy that's responsible for all the music that you hear on my videos is my guy Guapo Chino. So I'm going to sit back, turn up the music a bit while you guys see me go ahead and work out this lineup with the razor work and the trimmer. And I'm back with a quick moment of transparency. As you can see, man, the fade is nice, done, it's smooth, and it's a really nice looking fade. But after an after-cut consultation, the client realized that he wanted the fade a bit higher. Just a bit of miscommunication on my part, so no problem, we're gonna go ahead and fix that for him. Starting with the 2-guard all the way open, and we're just gonna scoop out. Basically lifting this fade up about another inch to maybe 1.5 inches. Going all the way around the head, just scooping out, making that nice and smooth, setting a soft guideline so we can blend all the rest of that in together. After I'm done with the 2, I go in with the 1.5 and do the same thing. It's all the way open, and I'm just scooping out, closing it as I see needed. Closing the levers as I'm working my way down into the bottom of that line there that you see. Moments like this, you may get a bit discouraged, but again, it's no problem at all. Again, it wasn't a bad cut, it's just not what the client wanted. So when situations like this happens, it's no problem at all. Give the client exactly what they want, because at the end of the day, they are the ones paying you. They are the ones in your chair that you're trying to satisfy. Now I have my 1-guard, and again, it's all the way open, and I'm scooping out. Opening and closing the lever as needed as I get to certain points and levels of the bottom of this fade here. And as you can see, man, this fade is already starting to come together, and we only have 1 more guard to go. And now I have my 1/2 guard, and I'm using it to just attack that bottom line. Opening and closing the lever and just scooping out. Getting the bottom of the fade to really come together and get the end result that we really want and that the client really wants. Now this right here was the original endpoint, but again, it's not what the client wanted. So when that happens, don't be discouraged, man. Just go back in and put in that work and give the client what they want and what they pay for it at the end of the day. And that is exactly what we did here. Lifted the fade up another inch, 1.5 inches, and gave the client exactly what he wanted. He was completely satisfied, and that's what it's always about. Thank you guys for making it all the way through the video, and I hope you guys picked up something along the way. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. I am Quay in the Cut on all platforms. That's TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Peace.